time for another NVNG review. I'm hosting today. I'm Tina. I am Nothing Venture, Nothing Games resident note taker, and today we're doing a review on Beadle Grimm's complete Character Chronicles. We have 5 books to review today, so welcome. I'm joined by our GM, Jared, who is not in the GM seat. I'm in charge, but he is here. He is my minion. Welcome.
Banana.
Okay, so this is awesome. I have been waiting for this for almost a year. I don't know. It's been a long time. This started off as a Kickstarter. We all kind of contributed to it. We probably all didn't need to buy all the books, but we did. This is really fun. Jared got to interview Beadle Grimm and talk to them and kind of get some more information about these books. So if you want to share a little bit.
Yes, we actually were invited to do, they did a Twitch panel with multiple different gaming channels, and because this is Pathfinder 2nd edition, they asked us to come on, and that was super awesome. Myself and Steve's behind the camera recording, throwing things at me, but we got to talk to them, and they explained their concept, and the concept was we want to make books specifically for each class, and to kind of have flair from the class. I feel like they've accomplished that. Absolutely. And that's an understatement, right?
Yeah. These are gorgeous.
Yeah. So with that, they asked us what we wanted to see in them. And one of the things we did say was we really would like to have kind of like a whiteboard specifically for the casters, for like the Cleric or the Wizard. And that is included. It's pretty boss.
Yeah, so the Kickstarter started off initially with the 4 books. We have the Rogue, the Wizard, the Cleric, and the Fighter. And then there were stretch goals, what I got super excited about, because one of those books was green, and I was like, that has to be the Druid book. So I went and I anywhere on social media, I pushed this out, and they reached one of their stretch goals, and they got this beautiful baby. I love it. If you guys have watched our Campaign 1 series, I played a Druid. It's the first spellcaster I played, the first long-term character I played, not counting the playtest where we kind of skipped around a few levels. I very much wanted this, especially as a newbie player, having a book where everything is all together and I don't have to go hunting for information among all the other different classes. Like, if this came out a little earlier, I feel like it would have made life so much easier. But I'm very grateful it exists now. There was a second book for a second stretch goal that they didn't quite get to. I'm hoping that one day will come out. Please and thank you. But we're going to start diving into these books. So just to start with, we have the standard edition, and then we also have these very pretty deluxe editions. So there's 2 versions of each book. The standard editions, just for comparison, this is the Fighter book. It's brown. Each book is a different color for the standard editions. And then for comparison, this is the Fighter Deluxe. It comes in this pretty cover. And then it comes out, and then all of the books are this very nice, like, not quite steel, but like a very nice, like, gray.
I want to say manatee.
Manatee gray?
Manatee gray.
Okay, Beadle Grimm, you're going to have to let us know what the Pantone color name is for this.
Reminded me of manatee.
But these are absolutely gorgeous, and what's nice is that they're about the size of the core rulebook, but they're all just specifically for that character.
Yeah.
Class. So there's room for all the information to breathe. It's not, everything is compounded in this very tight little text bubble. It's everything that can be in charts is in charts and nicely organized, which makes it easier to read, to find information, especially if you need to reference something quickly in a combat situation, which how many times have we had to stop the campaign because we have to find something in a book?
Yeah, I mean, that happens infinitely frequently because the players kind of know how it works, and then the GM kind of knows how it works, and then you kind of have this moment where no one's 100% sure how it works, and especially when it comes to casting, and right, like, so we have the Wizard and the Druid and the Clerics that are sitting here. But like specifically, like with the fighters get like a ton of feats. They have all the feats, and at like first to second level, like sure you're like, yeah, I know what I'm doing, right? Like this is what this means. This is what this means. But like 8th level, you got a laundry list
There's
of things.
a lot.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to start diving into these books. First off, I just want to talk about the books themselves because these are hardcover, which is amazing because if you're shoving things in and out of a bag, a backpack, whatever, to go to and from game night, paperbacks get bent and torn and ripped, and this is sturdy. My fighter book, I love, no hate at all, but for honest review, it is a little scarred. I got all 5 of the books, and I will say, though, that each book does come individually shrink-wrapped. So this is probably just a rare occurrence, but it is the fighter book, so I think this book came with a little extra experience.
Battle damage.
Probably a level 2, level 3 fighter book.
That's definitely a level 3 fighter book.
So, I got the advanced book, sorry.
That's a limited edition copy.
This is the super experienced battle-worn copy. But it's interesting. When I first got this, I actually went to the back of the book first. Because one, I'm a journal nerd, again, resident note taker for the group. First off, it's got this fun little, snappy thing so that you have a placeholder. And then there's a pocket in the back. And remember we were talking before about that whole whiteboard idea that we wanted and we loved? Well, it's here, and it's shiny, and you can put all your information here. And then it's got some information on the back for you to refer to. Yeah, so this is a nice whiteboard where you can put basically all of your battle stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of like that. All your loot, your abilities, your hit points, because that's going to change a lot.
And what's really cool is on the back, the very back on all of them, so the front is different, but on the back on all of them are standard rules, like just generic rules that you will come up.
Death and dying information, which is very important, and we always forget because you try not to get to that point, and when it does happen, you're like, what are the rules again? I don't know.
How do I do that? Yeah.
Am I dead? Am I not dead?
You could circle it.
Yep.
I like the whiteboard.
I enjoy that.
You could actually give your players different color markers for their character, and I think that would be cool. And then
and then you can put other things in the pocket. So if you get notes and things from your campaign, the little handouts and stuff you used to give us, you can put that in your journal and keep it with you. But each book also has, and this is unique to each class, the inside of the book. So this one has kind of a diagram of a fortress, and everything's kind of laid out. There's the forge, there's the murder hole.
I like the term murder hole.
I love the details in this. This is just so great. And I will say that I geeked out over the rounded edges.
Yeah.
On the deluxe books, they actually are sharp corners, but on the standard ones, there are rounded corners, and I don't know why, but I love that.
I like it a little. I think that should have been a deluxe feature.
I don't know why. That's the book nerd in me, so if you don't have a love for rounded book corners, I don't know how to explain it to you otherwise.
You're a monster.
So each book, so this part is pretty standard. There's a space in the beginning for a sketch of your character, and a certificate of birth from when you create your character.
Mm-hmm.
So you can put all the information place and date of birth, parents, if known, because a lot of times we don't know our parents, because all these characters have tragic backstories, because otherwise why would you go adventuring?
Everyone's a Batman.
Conditions of birth, type of birth, if it was fast and methodical, drawn out in battle, birthmarks, if any, please note location.
Right buttocks.
Is your birthmark shaped like a weapon? Not really or clearly. So that's, if you don't know what to make your character look like, there are ideas.
That's awesome.
Inherited quests, if there's something that, as you're creating your character, there's something that you already have to do, like a family thing or whatever. Inherited weapons and armor.
That's cool.
And family curses, in order of unspeakable horribleness.
I like that. It has to specifically be in order.
In parentheses, it's in order of unspeakable horribleness.
I support that.
And at the very bottom is to be raised by, and then your choices are really strict parents, Lord of the Keep, Sir Eric, Foreign Legion, Local Legion, Town Militia, or other.
You clearly are going to go other.
Sir Eric, I want to know. I really would love Beadle Grimm to do an in-depth why we made the choices we did, because I feel like that has its own backstory, and I need to know.
Yeah.
But I love that. And then you get your typical character sheet that's all in the book. You can do, again, if you want to do like a little sketch here, but you can put like all of your gear that you're wearing. Your consumables can go in here. Again, if that's something that's going to change, you can always use the whiteboard for that instead, but there's the option to put that here. And then as we go through, there are pages and pages for inventory.
Which is the most important. That changes infinitely.
I love it. Ammunition has its own section. Loot has its own section. Stowed permanent items has its own page. And then there's a section where as you go level by level, you can put all of your class features and keep that organized, which is really nice. It's all in one spot. And then I love this. The art for each of these books is very specific to the class. For the fighter, there are notes, and this one's got a little bloody handprint on the corner. So just the little style choices, You haven't even gotten into your campaign yet. You're still setting up your character, and already there's blood. Fighter class.
I feel like I would want to be the fly on that wall for that like conversation. Like, guys, we really need like a bloody handprint. Why? Trust me.
And then there's about 8 pages where you can put your feats and abilities. So that's all like neatly laid out. A section for leadership. Leadership events. And then what I kind of love, we don't really like talk about Pathfinder Society too much, but there's a whole section that if you do Pathfinder Society, it's got a space where you can store all of your stuff that you get. There's a log spread, so you can log all of your sessions.
Yeah.
So I like that they did accommodate for that. And then what I love, because I try to color code my notes for like important people and places, and then I find out that I actually don't do that. So there's a spread for important people and for important places. So as you travel around and you're like, I might need to know who this person is later, there's a whole spread. So you don't have to dig through your notes and go, how many sessions ago did you meet this person? You can just go right to this section and go, this is where it all is. So I do like that that's all in a spot that you can find very easily. Again, this is all about accessibility and being able to find your information quickly so you're not leafing through like a dozen books, because there's so many books and expansions right now.
We don't talk about that. That's part of the curses in order. Yeah.
Similarly, there's also a spread for important quests. So as you go through, like, your party might forget that they were supposed to return something. There's a whole spread so that maybe you don't forget. Although you might, but this way at least it'll be written down. And if you just don't look, that's a you problem and not a note-taking problem. So
I feel like that's like 7 to 8 sessions in, and the GM's like, I'm going to
There's a lot of pages for important quests, actually.
Well, I mean, like, it's your first quest is like, rid the town of giant rats. And then your, like, 15th quest is like, save the keep from skeleton zombies. And
then you go on side quest, and you forget what you were doing in the first place, and it happens.
Actually, it happens a lot.
I will say, because in the next section for this one is rules and references, but I will say there is a page texture difference between the pages that you write on and the pages where the rules are on. Like the rules pages, this is glossy. This is more matte because you're writing on this. So I do like that it's all one book, but the texture so that when you are writing on this, it's not going to smudge. Which, coming from a lefty and everything smudges, thank you. Much appreciated. You don't have that problem. I am a lefty. How long have you known me?
Long enough that I should have realized that.
Oh, man. So from this point on in the book, it kind of follows your typical core rulebook. It's got all the information for all the levels, all the feats. They do include more artwork. So, like, there is beautiful art of all different kinds of fighters, all different ancestries, all different styles of fighters. So I do like that you get more of a representation of everybody. Some of this art is just, like, incredible.
What is happening? Those Yetis?
I don't know.
Someone made a mistake.
Yeah.
Those are angry Yetis.
So just bravo to the artists, because this is beautiful. Also, a little shout out to just how the edge of the pages are done so that you can see, like, there's torn pages and there's tabs, but, like, it looks like a worn out journal. So, love that. So, yeah, that's all the class stuff. That's pretty standard, but I kind of want to, because I have other books to get to, I got to jump to the equipment section for the fighter, because we were kind of talking about this earlier. And, okay, so they didn't have to do this. They could have just been like, here's all the equipment your fighter may need. It looks like a catalog. Like you could order from a catalog. It is Seared and Roasted Company, and it's the cheapest supply house.
The cheapest?
The cheapest supply house.
That's always good. That's what you want on your weapons.
Oh, and then in very, very... that's funny. So it says cheapest supply house in large font, and then in smaller font right next to it, it says, we'd be lying if we claimed to be cheapest supply house.
That's messed up.
I love that. I love that. Weapons, armor, and shield guides. All high-quality goods, unless they're in the clearance section. This is not necessary, but I'm so glad it's in there, and I love you guys so much for this.
I definitely think that was something that they didn't need to put in, and they added a level of flair that I feel like makes this a better purchase when you're thinking about like what should you get for your table.
Yes.
Obviously not for like a new table or like if you have like a rotating table, but like if you like, oh, I have a table and they just made level 5 and they've been playing for 6 months.
Dragon armor, bitches. I love this. It reads like a catalog, and like this is special, and this is new, and this is on sale, and there's reviews of the different products.
Sir Eric doesn't make a review. I was looking.
I have to go through it in detail, but it's really beautifully done. There's ads in it. There's terms of service as if it were a catalog. But I really appreciate. And then there's an appendix. Like it's treated like an actual catalog. So it's so good.
I like in the back they have like a little comic of like at the back of that there's like this little comic, and that's so typical of like, remember like comic books used to have like the ads for like sea monkeys and stuff like that, and that's like very I don't know, it just makes these books seem more alive.
There's an ad at the bottom for coffins, because sooner or later we all have a critical failure. I love it. You don't need this at all, but I love it. And that's, again, the beauty of having a whole book for a class is that you have extra pages to play around with this, and you can make it a fighter book and make sense in world. Like this would be a journal or something that your character might actually carry around with them. I
think, since they do have the Chronicle for the Pathfinder Society, this might be something I would buy if I was doing a society character. Yeah. Because the concept is like, hey, you travel around. So how cool would it be to like go to a convention and then you have this book and then you can open to the society thing and then have where you've been. Yep. I think that's cool.
Okay. And then the last section of the book is all basically like empty pages for you to really chronicle out what your character is doing, what they're going through. You can put as much detail as you want. For each class, it is a little different. So for the fighter one, there's like little extra notes that are on here where you can list the battles that you've been in. There's some sketches of the different kinds of monsters that you're going to face. And this is going to be different for each class book. And we're going to get into some of the spellcasters in a little bit, but this is very well done. I love this so much. And again, the deluxe one, so these are the two, they're the same class. This is the standard one. This is the deluxe one that comes in the pretty box. So, love it, love it, love it. Jared, pick the next one.
Let's do a caster, right? Because we haven't gotten a caster. I could do the cleric. All right. If you want me to do cleric, you could do cleric.
Okay. Just because we have that thing.
Yeah. So one of the does this really cool thing in the cleric book. So all the other books they all start very similarly. They all have that, like we said, but the cleric one is vastly different because
this is the spread for the cleric one.
That's the spread. Like it's a chapel. Look how awesome that is. And it's a nondescript deity, but that's a cool chapel.
Also, the deluxe books, this is textured, which is just so pretty. I love it. And just that's your cover page. Like the art didn't have to go that hard, and it did.
I think the cover is so cool because like the cover page, you have all of those are clerics. Like that's the cool part. Like they're all clerics. And then you have the iconic cleric. She's up in the front, and she's just wrecking shop while the other clerics are just tending to the down dwarf. And Another one seems to be classing some kind of spell from Phasma, but clearly they're not doing it right. They're not being as awesome as her. That's
not everybody can be that awesome. So one of the big differences between this one and the book that we just did is this is a spellcaster. So instead of having more room for all the weapon stuff, you have, like, this has pages for your different spells. There's, in the beginning of the book, there's a spell page for each level.
Mm-hmm.
So there's room for you to include your spell information here if you want, especially if there's a bunch that you kind of go to that are kind of your bread and butter. You cast more frequently. Those are here.
Guidance, Divine Lance would be like the two big ones. That's like your two big cantrips.
And the rest of it's about the same. There's room for your archetypes, for your abilities and feats, for your leadership, your society, your important people. All that's pretty standard. And then it gets into all the spell information. Instead of the section in the fighter book where it talks about weapons, there is a pretty chunky size where it gets into all of your spells, which is very important. And again, it just shows you art of different kinds of clerics. So if you think a cleric only has to be a certain way, there are plenty of examples of different kinds of clerics. You can look however you want. You can
do
have whatever flavor you want. And I kind of love that they give you a visual representation of
different clerics,
different choices. Because if you really have no idea, you're like, I want to play a cleric, but I really don't know. You can kind of just go through this and look at the art and get some character inspiration that way too. Yeah.
I will say this. This did come out before Secrets of Magic. So some of the spells from Secrets of Magic are not in this book. So not every spell, because this book would be massive. Like it would be a tome more than a book at that point. But they got most of the first edition, and I think the advanced player's guide spells are in here too.
And then what I love what they did for the spells is that the different kinds of spells, divine, evocation, they are all color coded. So you can just look at a spell and you know what kind of properties it has just visually, which I like, that you can just look at something and instantly go, okay, this is abjuration, this is, whatever. And you don't really have to go through and read everything. Again, in the core rulebook, everything was just very crammed, small print text. And this is like, it's colorful, it pops, it's organized. And there's a lot of spells, so it helps to have those quick visual references so that you know what you're looking for and you can find it. Do you want to talk about your favorite feature of this book in the back?
So in the notes, I don't want to ruin it, right? Okay, so in the notes section, on page 129, there's something super cool, and you totally have to go find it.
So here are the deities.
Oh, that's so cool.
You actually get art of like what the deities like look like. I think in the core rulebook you just get a picture of their symbol.
Yeah, and then in Gods, the Advanced God book, some of them have images, but this one gives you a lot of images.
And again, you're cramming a lot of the gods on one page. You are getting like 2 to 3 gods on a page, so there's more room to clearly lay out their information. There's art, the symbols there. It's easy to read. And I just like that they actually gave the time. Like, there are pages, and normally that's 2 pages in the core rule book, and there's about 3 pages back to back here. So it's beautiful.
Yeah, they in the core rule book, it's like smushed up, and it's like, this is your symbol, and this is their domains, and this is like their tenant. Like, don't be a jerk. And you're like, cool, that's a pretty solid tenant. Can I get a little bit more information? No, we have a whole book to give you. So this is my question to you, Tina. As a bibliophile, do you feel that they, like, going in the future, and as a avid gamer, would you say you would want to start to see like books, like when companies create like tabletop games, like maybe like separate things out, like say, okay, like this is class book and this is this book, and
I would say not just as like a note taker and a lover of books, because like, again, I didn't need to get all 5 books, and I did, because you need the whole set. But just as like a beginning player, if you just want the information that you need and not to be overwhelmed or to get confused with like, okay, this is for this, it's just, these are the cleric spells. You don't have occult and all these. These are the divine spells. This is what you need to focus on. It's not overwhelming, and it's again, one book. You don't have to go back and forth through all these different resources and your character sheet. It's all here. So I just like having a nice, concise guide of this is what you need for your character that you're playing right now. And it would be nice to have this for other systems. It doesn't have to be quite this fancy, although I'm not going to argue if you do. Yeah. Go for it. I'll still buy it. But like this for the cleric, like one, there's beautiful stained glass art, but then there's a whole page on daily prayers and rituals. And that's just like a character, like fun flair thing. Like, so if you want to write your own prayers for your character, there's like a whole section for that.
That would be so cool. Yeah.
I enjoy that. So like a lot of it's like, it helps you build the character too. So if you are like, yeah, I want to be a cleric, but like, how do I do that? Like there are little cues here that are like, okay, this is what you can do. What prayer, you can just go, oh, I pray and I heal. What does that prayer look like? There's space for you to kind of figure out what you want to do. There's little quotes. There's like a prayer to Sarenrae kind of written in the corner of them, some of these pages. Some of these we didn't kind of go over in the fighter book, but they also have like little map grids. So if you want to draw like one of your encounters, you can do that. And like, squares, 5 feet, all that. So if you want to like redraw a map from your campaign and put it in your book, you can do that too.
Yeah, like an epic cool boss battle map. Like, oh, this was like the tomb of the vampire lord. And this is like the specific area where we fought them. Like it's cool for like memory's sake. And that's something I think that needs to be said is like, you can use this book and for what, it is priced well, right? It's not cheap because you're getting an amazing quality book.
It is.
But also, I could see like finishing a campaign as a druid, right? Or as a cleric and coming to like the end of my campaign. And even if we get to level 9, level 10, whatever, we don't get all the way to 20 and just saving that book and like putting it up on the bookshelf and when you get together years later and you're like, hey guys, you remember this, and you're chit-chatting and you're that person who's like, oh wait, you pull out the book and you're like, oh look, this was the map that we killed, the vampire lord. And oh, this was the map where, Bishop raised me from the dead. And oh, this is the map where we raised Bishop from the dead. Bishop was our cleric from our first campaign.
Go listen to it. So you want me to
No, don't show it.
Okay.
It's so secret.
It's a super secret thing, but again, each book has its own little special things. There's something in the cleric note section that I got super excited about. I kind of wish they had something like this in all of them, but like different.
That's what I looked for in the fighter book.
Yeah.
I like dropped the fighter book and looked on that same page and it's just a blank note sheet. You'll know later. Peanut calories.
But yeah, so like in the other one, there were sketches of different like creatures that you're fighting. In this one, it's a lot of like stained glass art. So I do appreciate that. Like, it's not just pages of lines for you to write on, that there is still like some style to this. Okay, something that I just want to get into, because we kind of went over the birth certificate for the other one.
Yes.
Each book has a page on the back for a guest book, so as you have special guests, you can include them. But it also has a certificate of death, because your character might not make it all the way through and might die. So you get to record your character's hopefully epic death and not like a sad, boring death. But you are the one filling this out, so if you lie, no one's going to know.
But also, Tina pointed this out to me on the back of the certificate of death.
There's administrative use only.
Yeah, and it says like
remains received as dead or undead.
Yeah.
If undead, disposal fee.
Yep. And then you gotta get rid of the undead.
I love it. So with the certificate of death, it's in parentheses right underneath it. It says, "Please allow for 3 days for resurrection before filling out this form." So don't jump the gun and be like, "I died," and then you came back, and then, well, I hope you wrote this in pencil then, because this is not whiteboard. This is paper. Yeah. But it's got your standard place and time of death, cause of death. Kindly check this box if the entire party met demise during this endeavor.
TPK.
Quests left unfulfilled, which is nice. Valuables bequeathed to. There is one line for it, but I feel like you could kind of create a will.
That's
like
totally
I kind
a
of
will.
almost wish they expanded on that a little bit and had like a will of like I leave this to, and just gave you a little bit more space for that. Body must be, and it's multiple choice. I love that there's multiple choice for some of these options. Buried outside the temple, ritually burned in honor of my deity, buried by my family, which are all kind of nice.
Yeah.
And then there's death must be avenged, ? And then the options are no, it was my time. And the other option is yes, avenge me. And in the following manner. And then you can fill in the blank of how you would like to be avenged. So I guess this does kind of work like a will.
It totally is.
I kind of wish there was a little bit more space to fill in.
Yeah.
Some more stuff. Because you can't put in how you want to be avenged in like one line. You need some room to describe that.
I'm not going to lie. Violence is always the answer.
Just violence.
Just violence. You just write... allow me to do the barbarian book. They would just say, avenged how, space, violence.
Please let us do the barbarian book. I would... I have ideas.
So I like that you touched on that will, because if you refer back to earlier in our video where Tina did the birth certificate of the fighter, you could use the will of that where it says quest unresolved. You could be like, oh, give this to my nephew. Like my nephew now takes up my quest. And now, instead of just coming in as like, we've all played in that campaign where your character dies and you just write junior.
Yep.
You theoretically could come in as like junior because you were bequeathed this will by your parental figure.
And I love that. Hang on, I just closed it. There's also like for posterity's sake, like you can list your most notable accomplishments, your most epic battle, your favorite quote. So you can kind of have a best of, worst of list
that would be cool.
On your certificate. You can include your arch nemesis and if they were defeated or not.
Bishop's arch nemesis was Muffin because Keiko and Balin threw muffins at him.
Yep.
For like just one session.
Yep. If you haven't listened to our first campaign, please do. It was how all this shit got started, and it was epically hilarious.
Yeah, it was anarchy.
Companion I loved and companion I loved to hate.
So, Keiko and Bishop. They became a family. Aggressive, but they were family.
Aggressive family. But this is, and again, I love how these books are like this is like indented in, like this is not a flat surface. This is
embossed,
textured, and like so nice.
It's so fucking cool.
Because I feel like now that these are out in the world and like we're giving you guys, we're not showing you all the details, but we're giving like a sneak peek into some of them. These are amazing and definitely worth the money, that we put into the Kickstarter for them. I would definitely want to see more.
Yeah.
The thing is, because I get like not quite paralyzed, but like, when you get like a really nice book and you're like, if I'm going to write in this,
it has to be the one.
It's a commitment.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to start writing in this. This is not a one shot kind of a book. This is a campaign book. This is a campaign chronicle. But like we were just talking about death certificate, your character can die at any point. So do you start filling this book out right away, or do you wait until a couple of sessions and then go back and retroactively fill in pages? How would you treat this? Because I'm on the fence. Like,
well, the good thing is you're playing an Inquisitor.
This is like the kiss of death. Like once you start writing in it, then you're jinxing yourself and your character's gonna die.
I know they did release the PDF copies, so you can also get the PDF. I would do, because we live in the age of technology, right? Like, so we're the borderline of like the tech kids and the not tech kids, right?
We were the dial-up internet kids.
Yeah. So I would do maybe a form fillable PDF and start filling it out online. And then once I'm in it to like win it, like I hit level 5 or level 6, then that's when I would jump to the book.
Because I don't want to like wait until the campaign's over to go back and fill it in. Like that defeats the purpose of having the book. But you also want to make sure that like you're not going to die at level 2 already, and then you just started the book and you're like, well, there isn't a second birth certificate in here, and like it's the whole book is not a whiteboard. You can't erase the whole book and start over.
Yeah, I guess that's like the PDF or the photocopy, the character sheet. But I would like you to go over. So I don't know if we could do this. Maybe we'll take a moment, but I would love to have Tina finish up and do the Druid book.
My favorite. I'm not kidding when I said that. Like, I freaked out when I saw the stretch goal book was green. I was like,
It was either Ranger or Druid. And Druid.
In my heart, I always knew it was Druid. They didn't reveal. So if you weren't in the Kickstarter, they didn't reveal what the book was until the stretch goal was achieved. Mm-hmm. So I was pushing for this on social media. I think on our channels, on my personal social media channels, like, please contribute because I need this book. Not at that point. Love you guys. It wasn't support Beadle and Grimm. It was like, me, Tina, I need this Druid book. Please get this goal done.
Yeah. That's how this entire, that's how 7 of us have all the copies. Because we were like, yes.
Tina must have it. So I believe as of right now, there is no deluxe version for the Druid because it was the stretch goal book. Mm-hmm. I would be curious to see if it follows the same form as these. I would kind of like maybe a different like material, like if it's a bit more like woody or something, like
less manatee gray.
Yeah. But I do love what they've done with this. So this was the first book that I opened because I'm me, and we're not surprised at all. But again, it's got all the cool features in the back with the pocket and the whiteboard. It's got the cool vines and the awesome... Oh, it's beautiful. I love it. So with the Druid... So some of these birth certificates are slightly different. Mm-hmm. So with the Druid one, in addition to all the standard information, it has conditions of birth when born. Did birds sing, wolves howl, or flowers bloom?
I think Keiko was wolves howl.
And then this one, it also has the inherited quests, inherited magical items, family curses. To be raised by is a little different, though. It's to be raised by parents, wolves, tree huggers, bear huggers, and there's more. I'm not going to reveal all the information, but you can, and then of course there's other. So you can choose to have been raised by something not included on the list. But
that's pretty dope.
That's awesome. I love that. So some of it's pretty standard and some has a little bit of flair to it. And I love that. And then you've got your standard character information, your spell information, all of that's pretty much the same. I have to skip ahead to probably, they also have like with your familiars, like they have like cute little drawings so you can see what the different little fleshy familiars look like. And I love the little, like, the notes. And again with, actually, let me go back a little bit. So, like we said before with the other spells, how there's different color codes. Mm-hmm. They did that with the different orders. So you've got, like, animal and leaf are a different shape and also a different color. So when you go back and you're looking at, different level feats, it has the icon on there. So if I'm just looking for storm feats, it's very easy to hone in and find what I'm looking for. So again, it's very user friendly. It's very like good for beginners, especially these spellcasting classes. Like there's a lot of spells. So if you just want to hone in and specialize on one order for Druid, it's easy to find. Mm-hmm. And I have to share the awesomest page in forever. So I kind of affectionately call this the centerfold of the book because it's practically dead center in the book. If you watched or listened to our first campaign, you'll know that me personally, not my character, I was obsessed with turning Keiko into a dragon because I did not get to do that during our playtest because Fabio one-shotted our boss fight. Yeah. And I was reserving something and didn't get to use it. Thanks, Fabio. Appreciate it. So when you get to dragon form in the core rulebook, there's maybe a column and a quarter or a third that's just text where all the information about the different dragons and what you can do, it's kind of all squished together. They give you a spread. This is my dragon centerfold, y'all. Like, I love this to death. Is that all in there? It is. Okay. So you get, I think probably for the first time, artwork of all the different dragons all together like this.
Yeah.
And I love it because it's not just the dragons are different colors. They are shaped differently. They have different features. Some have horns, some are thinner, some are longer. The ones that can swim, like, they look like they can swim. Mm-hmm. So I do like, And then again, all the information for the dragons is spread out, so you can find the information easier. It's easier to read. But I flipped out over this. I texted Jared. I was like, "Oh my gosh, dragons!"
I really think the Dragon Centerfold is definitely a, like you said, they show all the dragons, which is cool because when you're playing or you're trying to figure out like what you look like, because it's a role playing game, right? Like, in half of it's imagination, and you're just like, oh, I turn into a dragon. And you're like, okay, what color? And you're like, green. Yeah, but like when you could point and be like, this is what I look like.
This is it.
Yeah.
Like the green dragon has a giant horn sticking out of his head, and it's really badass, and I love it. And again, this is so much easier to read spread out on 2 pages than it is to go hunting through a column of just... Because after a while, the text all kind of bleeds in together, and especially when you're like in a combat situation, you need to find information quickly, this works a lot better. Again, everything gets room to breathe. You get like little visuals on the different like living flame and living water, and like what does living water look like? Like, you can kind of see little hands there. So like there are certain things again, like in your head, you're like, I don't know what that looks like, but sure. Yeah. And they just give you so much art to play with, to really appreciate like all the different books.
I don't like that page.
Like this is kind of like a wildlife exploration guide. This is for you, Trevor. That's you, Phoenix.
There he goes.
But it's gorgeous. And it's just, again, and then they have a whole section on familiars and your animal companions. There's a guide if you need help naming your animal companion. And it's all categorized by animal type. So if you have a cat, if you have a wolf, if you have a snake, there are options already there. So if you're like, I suck at making names on the spot, there's a list of names that you get to choose from. So again, it's great character inspiration. And again, you have the iconic looking Panicked, which when do you ever see her not looking cool and badass? She's like, oh shit. So I love that there's personality in these books. It's so well done.
Yeah, I like how they like brought in images that really emphasize the class and what you're looking at.
It's got like the tables again for dragon, like all of your, and this is what I really love, because when we were talking about like animal forms and dragon forms, there would be sections in the core rulebook where it's like, go to this page, and then you'd get there and it'd say, okay, here's a little bit of information. Now go to this page. And it was like a choose your own adventure book. And it was frustrating. Yeah. There are charts. It is, this makes my left and right brain happy because it is pretty. There are animals like peeking over the chart. So it's a little 3D-ish.
Shady dragon.
But it's a chart, and it's organized, and it's easy to find information and easy to read. And it's not chaotic. I needed this when we played. This needed to come out earlier. Yeah. But thank you. I want to play a Druid again just so that I can use this.
I definitely have to say, having this book makes it easier as a player.
Absolutely.
Because like Tina's been expressing, the fact that early levels, like sure, like, okay, I cast, produce flame. All right, this is what it does. But when you're becoming a dragon and you have your turn isn't just I hit it, but it's I'm a dragon and I fly up and I blow fire and I'm doing this. I need all of that in front of me, and you get that with this, and that's kind of really I like the symbol too. That was an interesting Druid symbol.
Yep, I love Team it, Druid. But especially with the different and I know like this isn't the only class that deals with it, but you have the different orders. And because, again, you can do this with other spellcasters, but you can do more than one. So sometimes it gets a little complicated between, I did Storm and I did Wild. So I could summon all these different storms, but then once you take on Wild, there's a list of all these different things that you can turn into, and each animal has their own set of stats. So that one spread created like a graph where everything is just, I'm going to turn into this. This is where this information is. I don't have to go hunting for everything. And like, okay, because there's a lot of things where it's like, this form operates the same as this form. And you're like, I have to go find that now. So this is all together on one spread. Very well done. I really needed this earlier, but I'm very happy the stretch goal was met and this exists in the world. I'm torn between filling this in for Keiko or waiting until I play a Druid again, which might just mean I need to get a second book So
you can make that happen.
But I very much appreciate this as a note taker, that this is organized and beautiful, but very well done. I hope that this is just the beginning, because I do want to see all of this expanded on. So if we're taking requests, and Beadle Grimm, if you're approaching any of this with any kind of like intention to take any of these ideas, wish list is to have a kill count in there somewhere.
Oh, word!
Like I want like not just a space for like a tally, but like an organized like by type. This is undead. This is giant. This is dragon, and you can keep a tally of how many of each thing you have killed. I want that in the journal section. Like the cleric has their cool thing in the journal section. I want that to be the cool thing in the barbarian section. I need a kill count.
Definitely, yeah.
For the barbarian.
1,000,000%. I'm 100% on board. The moment you said it, I was like, yes.
I'm not going to go through all the books because you guys have to get them and find out. Or if you want us to do another review and go through these two, let us know in the comments and we will go through the other 2 books and do more. But otherwise, this is going to be a 3-hour video of me fangirling over notebooks, which these are not just notebooks, but that's...
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you guys so much for watching. Again, look up Beadle Grimm. You can find them pretty much anywhere on the socials. They're awesome. They also sell other things besides these books, so go check them out. You can also check us out on our socials. We are NVNG Podcast on Instagram. We are on Twitter. We are on Facebook. We are on YouTube, clearly. We also stream on Twitch every other Wednesday. We are getting back to our Wrath of the Righteous campaign starting on February 16th. So you can catch up with our earlier episodes and then jump on in to the podcast and watch us live. We also have a Patreon. If you want to catch up on the VODs of our first few episodes, you can do that there. All of our information is on our website, nvngpodcast.com. And we hope that you will tune in for more videos. And again, if you want to see us do an in-depth review of the other 2 books, let us know and we'll do another video. That's it. All right. Thanks. Bye.